Hello, and welcome. Tonight we're going somewhere familiar, yet endlessly mysterious. We're going inward, into the soft, hidden corridors of your own mind. What makes you remember certain moments and forget others? Why does your brain dream? What happens in the silence between one thought and the next? These are questions that have puzzled philosophers for centuries and scientists for decades. And yet, even now, the mind remains one of the greatest frontiers we have yet to fully map. This evening, we'll wander through some of the most remarkable discoveries psychology has made about the way you think, feel, and experience the world. Some will be gentle, like learning why a certain song can carry you back to a moment you thought you'd forgotten. Others will be quietly astonishing, like how your brain makes choices before your conscious mind even knows there's a decision to be made. But all of them will offer a glimpse into the beautiful machinery that hums quietly behind. Your eyes. You don't need to remember any of this. You don't need to take notes or pay close attention. Simply let these ideas drift over you like a slow, warm current. If you find yourself sinking towards sleep, that's perfect. If you stay awake and follow along, that's perfect too. There is no wrong way to listen. For now, let your breathing slow, let your shoulders drop, and let the wonder of your own mind carry you gently through the next little while. Let's begin. Your brain never truly stops working. Even now, as you lie still in the dark, there is a vast symphony playing inside your skull. Neurons fire in patterns, memories consolidate, the body's systems are monitored and adjusted, all without your awareness. You might think of rest as stillness, but the sleeping brain is anything but quiet. In fact, during certain phases of sleep, the brain is nearly as active as it is when you're wide awake. It sorts through the day's experiences. It strengthens the neural pathways you used most, and it quietly discards what it deems unnecessary. Sleep is not an absence of activity. It is a different kind of work, silent, essential, and restorative. So as you rest tonight, know that your mind is still tending to you, organizing, healing, preparing you for whatever tomorrow may bring. Why do we forget things? It's a question that might seem frustrating, especially when you walk into a room and can't remember why you went there. But forgetting is not a flaw in the system. It's a feature. Your brain encounters an enormous amount of information every single day, far more than it could ever store. If you remembered everything, every face in a crowd, every word on every sign, every passing thought, the noise would be overwhelming. Forgetting is how the mind protects itself. It filters, it prioritizes, it lets go of what no longer serves you. The things you remember are the things your brain has deemed meaningful, emotionally significant, repeated or deeply encoded through attention. So when something fades from memory, it's not a failure. It's the mind doing exactly what it was designed to do, making room for what matters most. Here is something curious. You can remember things that never happened. This might sound unsettling, but it's actually quite common. Memory is not a recording. It is a reconstruction. Each time you recall an event, your brain rebuilds it from fragments, filling in gaps with assumptions, expectations, and sometimes imagination. This is why eyewitness testimony can be unreliable, and why two people can remember the same event in very different ways. The brain is not trying to deceive you. It's simply working with the tools it has. Memory is less like a photograph and more like a painting, impressionistic, emotional, and shaped by the moment it's created. In a way, every memory you have is a collaboration between your past self and your present one. A story you tell yourself, revised each time you return to it. Have you ever wondered why certain smells can transport you so completely to another time? A trace of perfume, the scent of rain on warm pavement, bread baking in an oven. Suddenly, you're not here anymore. You're somewhere else. A childhood kitchen, a summer afternoon, a moment you hadn't thought of in years. This happens because of the way scent is processed in the brain. Unlike other senses, smell bypasses much of the brain's usual filtering. It travels directly to the limbic system, the ancient region responsible for emotion and memory. This shortcut means that scent and memory are deeply intertwined. A single whiff can unlock a door that words and images cannot. Psychologists call this the Proust effect, named after a writer who described tasting a small cake and being swept into vivid recollections of his past. These scent-triggered memories are often rich with feeling, not just facts but textures, warmth, the quality of light, a sense of presence. In this way, the nose is not just a sensor, it is a time machine, quiet, unpredictable, and startlingly precise. Let's talk about the voice inside your head. You know the one. It narrates your day. It worries. It plans. It sometimes replays conversations you had hours ago, wondering if you said the right thing. This inner voice is called self-talk, and it plays a significant role in how you experience life. What you say to yourself matters. Studies have shown that people who speak to themselves with kindness and encouragement tend to be more resilient. They recover more quickly from setbacks. They approach challenges with less fear. Meanwhile, harsh self-criticism can amplify anxiety and erode confidence over time. The good news is that inner speech can be shaped. You can learn to notice when your internal voice turns unkind and gently redirect it, not with forced positivity, but with the same patience and understanding you might offer a friend. The mind listens to itself more than we often realize, and what it hears over and over slowly becomes the architecture of belief. Here is something remarkable. Your brain can make decisions before you're consciously aware of them. In experiments, scientists have observed neural activity related to a choice several seconds before the person reports making it. This doesn't mean you have no control, but it does suggest that consciousness is not always the captain of the ship. Sometimes it's more like a passenger, informed of the destination only after the course has been set. Much of what the brain does happens beneath the surface. Patterns are recognized, threats are assessed, preferences are weighed. And often, by the time a thought rises into awareness, the work has already been done. This isn't something to fear. It's simply a glimpse into the quiet efficiency of the mind, always processing, always preparing, even when you think you're doing nothing at all. Why do we dream? This question has puzzled humans for as long as we've had language to ask it. Ancient cultures believed dreams were messages from the gods. Modern scientists have proposed many theories, but none has captured the full truth. Some researchers believe dreams help consolidate memory. Others suggest they allow the brain to rehearse responses to threat. Still others think dreaming is simply a byproduct of random neural activity during sleep, the brain's attempt to make sense of noise. What we do know is that dreams are often emotional. They draw from our fears, our hopes, our unresolved tensions. They can be vivid and strange, blending people and places in ways that defy logic. And yet, for all their mystery, dreams are universal. Every human who has ever lived has dreamed. Every sleeping mind throughout history has wandered into that private theater of images and feeling. Perhaps we don't need to fully understand dreams to appreciate them. They are, after all, a nightly reminder that the mind contains depths we can only glimpse, even from the inside. Let's consider the placebo effect. You've probably heard of it. A person takes a sugar pill, believing it to be medicine, and their symptoms improve. This isn't imaginary. Real, measurable changes occur in the body. Pain decreases, inflammation subsides, mood lifts, all because the brain expects healing, and in expecting it, begins to produce it. The placebo effect reveals something profound about the connection between mind and body. Belief is not merely abstract, it is physiological. What you expect to happen can shape what does happen, not through magic, but through the brain's remarkable influence over the body's systems. This doesn't mean that all healing is a matter of belief, but it does mean that hope, expectation, and trust are not just feelings. They are active participants in your physical well-being. Have you ever noticed that time seems to move differently, depending on how you feel? An hour spent waiting in discomfort can stretch endlessly. An afternoon with someone you love can vanish in what feels like minutes. This is not an illusion. It's how the brain processes time. When you're engaged, focused, or happy, fewer moments are flagged as noteworthy. The experience passes smoothly. But when you're bored, anxious, or in pain, the brain pays closer attention, marking each moment more distinctly. This is why time drags when we suffer and flies when we're at peace. In moments of extreme emotion, fear, or danger, time can warp even more dramatically. Seconds seem to stretch, details become hyper-vivid. The mind, sensing importance, records everything it can. So the way you experience time is not fixed. It shifts with your inner state, and in this way, the quality of your moments matters as much as the quantity. There is a phenomenon called the spotlight effect. It describes our tendency to believe that others notice us far more than they actually do. That embarrassing thing you said at dinner? Most people have already forgotten it. That stain on your shirt? Hardly anyone saw it. We walk through the world imagining a spotlight on ourselves, when in truth, everyone else is absorbed in their own concerns. This isn't a flaw. It's a natural result of being the center of our own experience. But knowing about the spotlight effect can be quietly liberating. It means the awkward moment you've replayed 100 times probably passed without a trace in the minds of others. It means you can walk a little lighter, worry a little less, and trust that the world is not watching you as closely as it sometimes feels. Why do we yawn when we see someone else yawn? It's called contagious yawning, and it's not fully understood. But researchers believe it may be linked to empathy. The more attuned you are to the emotions of others, the more likely you are to catch a yawn. This suggests that even something as simple as yawning is not purely physical, it's social, a subtle mirroring of another person's state. Humans are wired for connection. We unconsciously imitate those around us, their posture, their expressions, sometimes even their breathing. This mirroring builds rapport. It signals understanding. It says without words, I am with you. So the next time you yawn after watching someone else do the same, consider it a quiet sign of your own capacity for connection. Here is something to hold gently. Your brain is not designed to make you happy. It is designed to keep you alive. This is why negative emotions often feel stronger than positive ones. Why a single criticism can outweigh 10 compliments. Why the mind so easily drifts toward worry. From an evolutionary perspective, this makes sense. Our ancestors who focused on threats survived longer than those who didn't. The brain learned to prioritize danger, and that bias remains with us today. But understanding this can change how you relate to difficult feelings. Anxiety is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It's a signal from an ancient system doing exactly what it evolved to do. You can acknowledge the signal without obeying it. You can feel the warning and still choose peace. The mind may lean toward vigilance, but you are not required to follow it there. Let's talk about the power of familiarity. Why do you prefer certain songs, faces, or places? Often, it's simply because you've encountered them before. This is called the mere exposure effect. The more we're exposed to something, the more we tend to like it, even if we're not consciously aware of the exposure. This is why advertisers repeat their messages, why we gravitate toward the familiar when choosing what to eat, what to wear, what to watch. Familiarity feels like safety, and safety to the brain is something to be preserved. But the mere exposure effect also invites a question. How much of what you believe you prefer is simply what you've seen most often? There's no right answer, only an invitation to wonder, and perhaps, sometimes, to try something new. Have you ever had a song stuck in your head? A melody that plays on a loop, refusing to leave? Psychologists call this an earworm, and nearly everyone experiences them. They tend to happen when the brain is idle. A catchy tune finds a gap in your attention and fills it. The more you try to push it away, the more it seems to persist. This is because suppression often backfires. The brain, in trying not to think of something, keeps checking to see if it's still there, and in doing so, reinforces it. The remedy is gentle distraction, engaging with something else, letting the loop fade naturally rather than fighting it. Earworms are harmless, but they're also a reminder of how much of the mind operates beyond our direct control, humming quietly in the background, with or without permission. Your mood can change what you see, not metaphorically, literally. When you're happy, your visual field tends to widen. You notice more, you take in the periphery. But when you're anxious or focused on a threat, your attention narrows. You see less of the world around you. This is called attentional tunneling, and it's one of the brain's survival mechanisms. In danger, you don't need to admire the scenery, you need to focus. But in daily life, this narrowing can make problems seem larger than they are. When the mind is stressed, it literally sees less of the world. This is why a walk outside, a change of scenery, or a moment of laughter can feel so restorative. It widens the lens again, opens the frame, and reminds you that there is always more to see than what first catches your eye. There's a reason you feel better after a good cry. Tears contain stress hormones. When you cry, you're not just expressing emotion, you're releasing it. The body is literally flushing out chemicals associated with tension and distress. This is part of why suppressing tears can feel so uncomfortable. The release is being blocked. Of course, not every cry leads to relief. Context matters. But for many people, allowing tears to flow, rather than fighting them, brings a sense of calm afterward, a softening, a return to equilibrium. Crying is not weakness. It is a biological, ennui process, one that has evolved, perhaps, precisely because it helps us heal. Here is something worth knowing about sleep. The brain uses it to clean itself. During deep sleep, a system called the glymphatic system activates. Cerebrospinal fluid flows through the brain, flushing out metabolic waste, including proteins associated with neurodegenerative diseases. This cleansing happens most effectively when you're asleep. It cannot be replicated by rest alone. So when you sleep, you are not merely resting your body. You are allowing your brain to wash itself, to clear the residue of the day and prepare for the next. This is one of the many reasons sleep is so essential, and one of the many reasons to let it come gently tonight. Have you heard of the Zeigarnik effect? It describes the way unfinished tasks linger in the mind more than completed ones. If you've ever lain awake thinking about something you forgot to do, this is why. The brain doesn't like loose ends. It holds on to open loops, replaying them until they're resolved. This is useful for motivation, but it can also make rest difficult. One remedy is to write things down. When you capture a task on paper or in a note, the brain relaxes its grip. It trusts that the information is stored and stops rehearsing it. So if thoughts are circling tonight, you might try this. Not to solve anything, just to let the mind release what it's been holding. Let's consider the way emotions move between people. You've probably felt it, walking into a room and sensing tension, or being lifted by someone else's joy without knowing why. This is called emotional contagion. We absorb the moods of those around us, often without realizing it. The brain contains mirror neurons, cells that fire both when we perform an action and when we observe someone else doing the same. These neurons help us understand others. They also make us susceptible to their emotional states. This is why surrounding yourself with calm, kind people can feel restorative, and why chronic exposure to negativity can wear you down. Emotions are not entirely private. They ripple outward, touching others, shaping rooms, coloring conversations. What you feel, in a very real sense, can become what someone else feels too. Your brain craves patterns. It looks for them everywhere, in clouds, in static, in random noise. This tendency is called apophenia, and while it can sometimes lead to false connections, it's also the foundation of learning. Pattern recognition allows us to make sense of a chaotic world, to predict what comes next, to find meaning in complexity. This is why stories resonate, why music feels satisfying when it resolves, why a messy room can feel unsettling. The brain wants order. It wants things to fit, and when they don't, it works, sometimes too hard, to make them. Understanding this can help you question the patterns you see. Not all connections are real, but the impulse to find them is deeply human, a quiet engine running beneath all thought. Here is something about attention. You can only hold so much of it at once. The brain has limited resources, and when you divide them, each task receives less. This is why multitasking often leads to mistakes, and why trying to focus on many things at once can leave you feeling scattered. The myth of the productive multitasker is just that, a myth. The brain switches between tasks, not truly doing them at the same time. Each switch costs energy. Each return requires recalibration. So the invitation is simple. One thing at a time, fully, with presence. This is how the mind works best. And tonight, the only task is rest. Have you ever noticed how much easier it is to remember something when you're in the same state you were in when you learned it? This is called state-dependent memory. If you studied while calm, you'll recall more when calm. If you learned something while anxious, the memory may return more vividly when you're anxious again. The brain tags memories with context, not just what happened, but how you felt, where you were, even what you smelled. This is why revisiting a place from your past can bring back so much. The context itself is a cue, a key that unlocks what was stored there. So if you're trying to remember something, it can help to recreate the conditions. And if you're trying to let something go, changing your state may be the first step. Let's talk about the brain's default mode network. This is the system that activates when you're not focused on the outside world. when you daydream, when your mind wanders, when you think about yourself, your past, or your future. For a long time, scientists thought this was just an idle brain activity. But now we know it's essential. The default mode network helps you process experiences. It allows for self-reflection. It's where you imagine possibilities and consolidate your sense of who you are. So when your mind wanders, as it often does before sleep, you're not wasting time. You're engaging one of the brain's most important systems. Let the thoughts drift. There is value in the wandering. There's a reason comfort food feels comforting. Eating activates reward pathways in the brain, especially when the food is familiar and associated with positive memories, a dish from childhood, a meal shared with loved ones, the taste of something that once meant safety. These foods do more than satisfy hunger. They offer emotional nourishment. This isn't something to feel guilty about. The body and mind are not separate. What soothes one often soothes the other, and the brain, ever practical, learns to seek what has helped before. Have you ever felt that you knew something was going to happen, and then it did? This feeling, sometimes called intuition, is often the brain recognizing patterns below conscious awareness. You may not know why you feel uneasy about a situation, but some part of your mind has noticed something, a micro-expression, a shift in tone, a detail that doesn't quite fit. Intuition isn't magic. It's the quiet work of a system that sees more than it tells. Of course, intuition can be wrong. It can be biased. But it can also be wise, especially in areas where you have experience. Learning to listen to it without being ruled by it is a skill worth developing. Here is something about memory that might bring comfort. You don't need to remember everything to have lived fully. Most of life fades. The meals you've eaten, the walks you've taken, the conversations that once seemed so important, they dissolve into a soft blur. And that's okay. What remains is a kind of essence, a feeling, a sense of who you've been and where you've traveled. Memory is not a ledger, it's a landscape, and much of it is meant to be walked through, not catalogued. The moments that matter most will find a way to stay, and the rest can be released without loss. Let's talk about social connection. Humans are not designed to be alone. From the earliest moments of life, we depend on others for survival. And throughout adulthood, relationships remain essential, not just for happiness, but for health. Loneliness activates the same brain regions as physical pain. It raises cortisol levels. It weakens the immune system. This is not a flaw, it's a signal. The brain is telling you that connection matters, that isolation over time is a threat. So reaching out to others is not a luxury. It's a need, as real as food or sleep. And even small moments of connection can nourish the mind in ways we often underestimate. Why do we like stories? From childhood, we are drawn to narrative. We remember information better when it's embedded in a story. We feel more engaged, more moved. This may be because stories simulate experience. When you hear about someone's journey, your brain responds as if you're living it. Mirror neurons fire. Emotions rise and fall. You learn without risk. Stories are how we pass on wisdom, how we make sense of the world, how we remember what it means to be human. And tonight, as you listen, you are part of that tradition. A mind in the dark, receiving a story, one quiet idea at a time. Have you ever wondered why sleep deprivation is so disorienting? After even a single night of poor sleep, the brain begins to struggle. Attention wavers, mood drops, memory weakens. This is because sleep is not optional for the brain. It is maintenance time. Without it, systems begin to falter. But here is the reassuring part. The brain is remarkably good at recovering. One night of rest can restore much of what was lost. The body wants to heal. It wants to return to balance, and sleep is one of the most powerful tools it has. So if you've been tired lately, tonight is an invitation to begin again. Let's consider gratitude. It may sound simple, but the brain responds powerfully to it. When you focus on what you're thankful for, activity increases in regions associated with reward, social bonding, and moral cognition. Over time, practicing gratitude can reshape the brain's default tendencies. It can shift the baseline toward noticing what's good rather than what's wrong. This doesn't mean ignoring difficulty. It means expanding your attention to include what's working. And often, there is more working than we realize. Tonight, as you lie here, you might let your mind touch, just briefly, on something you're grateful for. It doesn't need to be grand. A warm blanket, quiet room, the simple fact of rest. Here is something about the brain's sense of self. It is not fixed. The way you see yourself, your identity, your story, is constantly being revised. New experiences reshape it, memories fade and shift. Even the neurons that encode your sense of self are replaced over time. This can be disorienting, but it can also be freeing. You are not bound by who you were yesterday. The brain is plastic. Change is not only possible, it is happening all the time. So if you've ever felt stuck, know that the mind is always in motion, always becoming, always capable of something new. Let's talk about the power of breath. When you slow your breathing, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system. Heart rate drops, muscles relax. The brain receives a signal that it is safe. This is why deep breathing is so often recommended for stress. It's not just a distraction. It's a direct communication with the body's calming systems. You don't need any special technique. Simply slowing down, making each exhale a little longer than the inhale can shift your state. And the more you practice, the more easily the body responds. Breath is always with you, a tool you carry everywhere, and tonight it can be the bridge between waking and sleep. Have you noticed how different you feel after spending time in nature? This is not just imagination. Studies show that even brief exposure to natural environments can reduce stress, improve mood, and enhance cognitive function. The Japanese call it Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing. Simply being among trees near water or under open sky seems to reset something in the mind. Some researchers believe this is because nature provides a kind of gentle stimulation, enough to engage the senses, but not enough to overwhelm them. It's a rest for the attention systems that are constantly taxed by modern life. So if you've been feeling depleted, nature may offer something you didn't know you needed. And even the memory of a peaceful place can bring a trace of its calm. Here is something about habits. They are not stored the same way as other memories. Habits live in a part of the brain called the basal ganglia, a region that operates largely below conscious awareness. This is why habits can feel automatic, why you don't have to think about brushing your teeth or tying your shoes. The pattern has been encoded. It runs on its own. This efficiency is useful, but it also means habits can be hard to change. The key is repetition. New behaviors must be practiced until they too become automatic, and the old patterns must be gently starved of use. It takes time, but the brain is always learning, and every small action adds up. Let's consider the feeling of awe when you stand before something vast, a mountain, a starry sky, a piece of music that moves you. Something shifts inside. Time seems to slow. The self feels smaller. Problems that loomed large seem to shrink. This is the psychology of awe, and it has measurable effects. People who experience awe regularly report greater well-being. They feel more connected to others. They become more generous. Awe seems to remind us that we are part of something larger, that the world extends far beyond our personal concerns. And in that reminder, there is peace. Here is something about the way the brain handles uncertainty. It doesn't like it. Uncertainty activates stress pathways. The brain would rather know something bad is coming than not know what's coming at all. This is why waiting for news can feel worse than receiving it, even if the news is difficult. But here's the paradox. Much of life is uncertain. Learning to tolerate not knowing is one of the mind's greatest skills, and it can be practiced. By noticing the discomfort, by breathing through it, by reminding yourself that uncertainty is not the same as danger. Tonight, you don't need to have all the answers. You can rest in the not knowing and let the morning bring what it will. Have you ever felt that a place has a certain atmosphere? A room that feels heavy, a house that feels welcoming, a space that just seems calm. Some of this is association, memories tied to similar places, but some of it may be more subtle. Light, temperature, sound, and even the invisible presence of others can shape how a space feels. The brain is constantly reading the environment, looking for cues about safety and threat. And it often does this without informing the conscious mind. So when a place feels a certain way, you may be sensing something real, even if you can't name it. The body knows things the mind hasn't yet caught up to. Let's talk about the stories you tell yourself. Everyone has a narrative, a way of explaining their life, their choices, their place in the world. These stories are powerful. They shape what you notice, what you attempt, what you believe is possible. But they are also flexible. The same facts can be arranged into different stories. A setback can be a failure or a lesson. A quiet life can be dull or peaceful. The meaning is not fixed, and the narrator is you. So if the story you've been telling no longer serves, you have permission to revise it, not to lie to yourself, but to see more of the truth. Here is something about compassion. When you extend kindness to yourself, the brain responds the way it would to kindness from another. The same soothing systems activate, the same calming chemicals are released. Self-compassion is not indulgence. It's not making excuses. It's simply offering yourself the same understanding you might offer a friend. People who practice self-compassion tend to be more resilient. They recover more quickly from mistakes. They are less paralyzed by fear of failure. So tonight, if any hard thoughts arise, see if you can meet them with gentleness, not to silence them, but to hold them the way you would hold something fragile. Let's consider the passage of time. Why does childhood seem to have lasted forever, while recent years blur together? Part of the answer is novelty. When you're young, almost everything is new. The brain records extensively. But as you age, routines take over. Days begin to resemble each other, and the mind, finding less to note, records less. This is why time seems to speed up, but it also means the remedy is within reach. New experiences, new places, new challenges. These slow time down by giving the brain more to remember. So if you want to stretch your life, seek what is unfamiliar. The mind measures time by what it notices, and the more you notice, the longer the journey feels. Here is something about the unconscious mind. It is vast, far larger than the sliver of awareness you call you. Beneath the surface, processes run constantly, sorting, weighing, remembering, forgetting. You are not the master of this system. You are more like a guest, invited to witness a small portion of its work. This can be humbling, but it can also be reassuring. Much of what the mind does happens on its own. You don't need to manage everything. You can trust the deeper systems to do their part and rest in the knowledge that you are being cared for by something larger than your conscious mind. Have you ever felt that someone was thinking of you or thought of someone and then they called? These moments feel strange, significant, but they may be more common than we think and more explainable. We think of many people throughout the day. Most of the time, nothing happens. But when a coincidence occurs, we remember it. This is a form of confirmation bias, the mind's tendency to notice what confirms a belief and ignore what doesn't. That said, there may be more to it. Humans are deeply attuned to each other. We pick up on subtle cues, shared rhythms, even timing patterns we're not consciously aware of. So while psychic connection remains unproven, our sensitivity to each other is very real and worth marveling at. Let's talk about the feeling of being present. You've probably experienced it, moments when you were fully here, not thinking about the past, not planning the future, just aware. This state is associated with reduced stress, greater enjoyment, and a deeper sense of connection to life. And it doesn't require anything special. It can happen while walking, while eating, while lying in the dark, listening to a gentle voice. The present is always available. The challenge is remembering to return to it. And tonight, this is an invitation to let go of tomorrow, to release yesterday, and to simply be here, where you already are. Here is something about forgiveness. Holding on to resentment is taxing for the brain. It activates stress systems. It replays injury. It keeps the wound fresh. Forgiveness, by contrast, allows the mind to release, not to forget, not to condone, but to stop carrying the weight. Studies show that people who forgive experience lower blood pressure, less anxiety, and fewer symptoms of depression. Forgiveness is not for the other person. It is for you, a gift you give yourself by setting down what no longer needs to be held. Let's consider something called the peak end rule. When you remember an experience, you don't average the whole thing. You remember the most intense moment and the end. This means how something finishes matters more than the middle. A vacation that ends with a missed flight may feel worse than it was. A difficult conversation that ends with warmth may be remembered fondly. The brain is not a fair recorder. It summarizes, and its summaries are shaped by peaks and endings. So if you want to leave a better impression on yourself or others, pay attention to how things close. A gentle ending can redeem a difficult day. Here is something about curiosity. It is one of the brain's most powerful states. When you're curious, dopamine is released. Learning becomes pleasurable. Attention sharpens. This is why children learn so easily. They are endlessly curious. And the good news is that curiosity doesn't have to fade. You can cultivate it by asking questions, exploring new subjects, approaching the familiar with fresh eyes. Curiosity is not just a is feeling, it's a skill. And the more you practice, the more the world opens up. Let's talk about the end of the day. The transition from waking to sleep is one of the most profound shifts the brain undergoes. Heart rate slows, body temperature drops, brain waves shift from fast, alert rhythms to slower, deeper ones. This is a letting go, a surrendering of control. and it happens every single night, a small death, followed by renewal. Sleep is not something you do, it is something you allow, and the less you fight it, the more easily it comes. So as this journey draws to a close, let your body do what it knows how to do. Let the mind release its grip. Let the night receive you. We've wandered far tonight, through the quiet halls of memory, through the subtle shifts of mood and time, through the hidden workings of a mind that never truly rests, even as it prepares you for rest. You don't need to hold on to any of this. The ideas will be here if you need them, and if they drift away, that's fine too. What matters now is simply this. You are here, you are safe, and the night is soft around you. If you're still awake, you can stay with these thoughts a little longer, or you can let them go and follow wherever sleep wants to take you. The mystery of the mind will still be there in the morning, but for now, there is nothing left to do, nothing left to solve, only rest, only peace, only the slow, quiet unfolding of a mind settling into stillness. Sleep well, and good night. But before we part, let's linger a little longer. There are still a few more corners of the mind worth visiting, a few more quiet truths to carry with you into the dark. Have you ever noticed how your brain fills in gaps? When you look at the world, you don't see everything. There are blind spots in your vision, places where the optic nerve connects to the retina, leaving no room for photoreceptors. And yet, you never notice these gaps. The brain paints over them. It constructs a seamless image, using context, memory, and expectation to fill in what's missing. This happens constantly, not just with vision, but with sound, with memory, with understanding. The brain is always completing the picture, always smoothing the edges. You experience the world not as it is, but as the brain believes it to be. This is not a flaw, it's an extraordinary feat of engineering. A reminder that perception is a creative act, one the mind performs every waking moment. Let's consider something called the fresh start effect. There are certain moments, a new year, a birthday, a Monday morning, when people feel more motivated to change. These temporal landmarks create a psychological division between the old self and a potential new one. They offer permission to begin again. The past mistakes feel like they belong to someone else, and the future feels open. This is why resolutions are made on January 1st, and why Mondays are popular for starting diets. The mind craves these boundaries, and while motivation alone isn't enough to sustain change, the fresh start can provide the momentum to begin. So if you've been waiting for the right moment, consider this. Every night that ends in sleep is a kind of boundary, and every morning is a chance to begin again. Here is something about the way we experience music. When you hear a song you love, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical involved in food, connection, and reward. But here's the surprising part. The dopamine isn't just released when the best part arrives. It's released in anticipation of it. The brain knows the song. It remembers what's coming, and it rewards you for the expectation, not just the arrival. This is why familiar music can feel so satisfying. The pleasure is layered. First, the anticipation, then the fulfillment. Music speaks to the brain's deepest reward systems. It taps into something ancient, and even now, lying in stillness, the memory of a beloved melody can stir something warm inside. Let's talk about the way memory shapes identity. You are, in many ways, your memories. The stories you tell about your past form the foundation of who you believe yourself to be. But as we've discussed, memories are not fixed. They shift. they fade. They are reconstructed each time they're recalled. This means identity is not a stone. It is more like water, always moving, always adapting. The you of 10 years ago is not quite the you of today, and the you of tomorrow will be different still. This can feel unsettling, but it can also be freeing. If identity is not fixed, then neither is possibility. You are always in the process of becoming, and the story is never quite finished. Here is something about the brain's relationship with faces. Humans are remarkably good at recognizing faces. There's an entire region of the brain, the fusiform face area, dedicated to this task. Within milliseconds, your brain can identify whether a face is familiar or strange, whether it's happy or sad, whether it can be trusted. This ability evolved because faces carry crucial social information. They tell us about mood, intention, identity. They are the most important visual signal in human life. This is why we see faces everywhere, in clouds, in electrical outlets, in the front of cars. The brain is so attuned to faces that it finds them even where they don't exist, a quirk of evolution and a quiet testament to how deeply social we are. Have you ever felt moved by someone else's kindness, even when it wasn't directed at you? This is called moral elevation. When we witness acts of compassion or generosity, something stirs inside. The heart rate changes. A warm feeling spreads through the chest. We feel inspired and more inclined to be kind ourselves. This phenomenon suggests that goodness is contagious, that seeing virtue in others activates something virtuous in us. It's one of the more hopeful findings in psychology, a reminder that the world we witness shapes the world we create, and that kindness, even observed from a distance, leaves a mark. Let's consider the way emotions are stored in the body. You've probably felt it. Tension in the shoulders when stressed, a knot in the stomach when anxious, a lightness in the chest when joyful. These are not metaphors. The brain and body are deeply intertwined. Emotions produce physical sensations, and physical sensations can influence emotions. This is why relaxing the body can calm the mind, why a warm bath feels restorative after a hard day, why unclenching your jaw can ease mental tension. The mind is not separate from the body. They speak to each other constantly, and learning to listen, to notice where feeling lives in the flesh, can be a doorway to greater peace. Here is something about attention and love. What you pay attention to grows. This is true in gardens. It is true in skills. And it is true in relationships. The things you notice, the things you appreciate, tend to flourish, while what you ignore tends to fade. This is part of why gratitude practices work. They train the mind to notice what's good, and what you notice, you nurture. So the invitation is simple. Where is your attention going? What are you feeding with your awareness? The mind follows focus, and over time, focus shapes the world you live in. Let's talk about the phenomenon of déjà vu, that strange feeling that you've experienced this exact moment before. It's disorienting, sometimes eerie, and surprisingly common. Scientists believe déjà vu may occur when the brain's memory systems briefly glitch. A new experience is mistakenly tagged as familiar, creating the illusion of repetition. Another theory suggests it happens when two brain processes, usually in sync, fall slightly out of step. Whatever the cause, déjà vu is harmless. A hiccup in the machinery, a glimpse of the strange seams in consciousness, and a reminder that even the most familiar feeling, familiarity itself, can be manufactured by the mind. Here is something about regret. It's one of the most painful emotions. And yet, it serves a purpose. Regret helps us learn. It signals that something could have been done differently, that next time we might choose otherwise. Psychologists have found that people tend to regret inaction more than action, especially over the long term. The things we didn't do haunt us more than the things we did. This suggests a lesson. When in doubt, try. The sting of failure fades, but the ache of wondering tends to linger. Of course, some things are beyond changing, and for those, the only path is acceptance, not forgetting, but releasing the grip and allowing the past to be what it was. Let's consider something called the halo effect. When we like one thing about a person, their appearance, their voice, their first impression, we tend to assume other good things about them. This is a cognitive shortcut. The mind, seeking efficiency, generalizes. If someone is attractive, we may unconsciously assume they're also kind, intelligent, or trustworthy. This effect works in reverse too. A single negative trait can cast a shadow over everything else. Awareness of the halo effect can help us see more clearly, to look past first impressions, to give people and ourselves the benefit of complexity. No one is just one thing, and the story is always richer than the surface suggests. Here is something about the brain's reward system. It is not designed for constant satisfaction. It is designed to motivate pursuit. This is why achieving a goal often feels less satisfying than the chase, why the anticipation of a vacation can outweigh the vacation itself. The brain releases dopamine, and not just when you get what you want, but when you're moving toward it. This can feel like a trap, always wanting more, never quite arriving. But it can also be reframed. The pleasure is in the process, the meaning is in the motion, and the journey, not just the destination, is where life unfolds. Let's talk about the power of names. There's something intimate about being called by your name. The brain perks up when it hears it, even in a crowded room. This is called the cocktail party effect. Your name is a signal to the mind that something relevant is happening. Using someone's name in conversation can increase engagement and trust. It signals attention. It says, "I see you." And in a world full of noise, that recognition matters. Names are more than labels. They are invitations, small bridges between one mind and another. Here is something about the limits of willpower. It is not infinite. Willpower draws on mental resources that can be depleted. After a long day of difficult decisions or self-control, the mind is tired. Resisting temptation becomes harder. Focus wavers. This is called ego depletion. And while the science is still debated, the experience is familiar to most. The lesson is not to rely on willpower alone. Design your environment to support your goals. Make the good choice the easy choice, and be gentle with yourself when you're running low. The mind has limits, and wisdom lies in knowing them. Let's consider the way social connection shapes the brain. From infancy, relationships sculpt neural development. The attachments we form early in life influence how we relate to others for years to come. Secure connections promote resilience. Insecure ones can leave lasting patterns of anxiety or avoidance. But here is the hopeful part. The brain remains plastic throughout life. New relationships can heal old wounds. Safe connections can teach the nervous system new ways of being. It's never too late to learn trust, never too late to feel held. The past shapes us, but it does not have to define us. Here is something about creativity. It often arises not from effort, but from rest. Many breakthroughs happen when the mind is wandering. In the shower, on a walk, in the moments just before sleep. This is because the default mode network, the system active during daydreaming, allows distant ideas to connect. When you stop trying to solve a problem, the unconscious mind keeps working, and sometimes it delivers the answer when you least expect it. So if you've been stuck on something, let it go for now. Sleep may do what waking effort could not. The mind works in ways you can't always see. Let's talk about the experience of flow. Flow is the state of being so absorbed in an activity that time seems to disappear. Self-consciousness fades. The task and the self merge. This state is associated with peak performance and deep satisfaction. It tends to occur when the challenge matches the skill, not too easy, not too hard. Flow is often described as the opposite of boredom and anxiety. It's the sweet spot where engagement meets ability. And while it can't be forced, it can be cultivated by choosing tasks that stretch you just enough, by removing distractions, by giving yourself permission to become fully immersed. Here is something about the mind's need for closure. Unfinished stories nag at us, unresolved questions linger, the brain craves completion. This is why cliffhangers work, why we stay up late to finish a book, why unanswered texts can feel so unsettling. The need for closure is powerful, but it can also be a source of suffering. Not everything can be tied up neatly. Some questions have no answers, some stories end without resolution. Learning to live with openness, to tolerate the incomplete, is part of making peace with life. Tonight, let the loose ends rest. They don't all need to be tied. Let's consider the way beliefs shape perception. What you believe influences what you see. If you expect hostility, you may find it even where it doesn't exist. If you expect kindness, you may notice more of it. This is not delusion. It's the brain's way of managing an overwhelming world. It uses expectation as a filter, and filters shape reality. This doesn't mean beliefs are arbitrary, but it does mean they carry weight. Choosing what to believe and examining beliefs you didn't choose is part of shaping the life you live. Here is something about the power of ritual. Rituals are repeated actions with symbolic meaning: a morning cup of tea, a bedtime routine, a moment of silence before a meal. These practices may seem small, but they anchor the mind. They create predictability, they mark transitions, and they offer a sense of control in a world full of uncertainty. Rituals are not superstition, they are structure, a way of telling the brain, this is familiar, this is safe, and in that familiarity, there is comfort. Let's talk about the mind's relationship with silence. In a world full of noise, silence can feel strange, even uncomfortable, but the brain needs it. Constant stimulation exhausts attention systems. Silence allows recovery. Studies have shown that even brief periods of quiet can reduce stress hormones and promote the growth of new brain cells. Silence is not emptiness, it is space, room for the mind to rest, to wander, to return to itself. Tonight, as you lie in stillness, let the silence be a gift, not something to fill, but something to receive. Here is something about the stories we tell about others. We often assume we understand people better than we do. We attribute their behavior to personality, while explaining our own with context. This is called the fundamental attribution error. If someone is rude, we think they're a rude person. If we're rude, we think we were having a bad day. This asymmetry can lead to judgment, conflict, and misunderstanding. But awareness of it can foster compassion. Everyone you meet is navigating something you can't see. Their story is as complex as yours. And the grace you'd want for yourself is usually the grace they need too. Let's consider the feeling of being understood. Few things are more satisfying than being truly seen by another person. When someone listens, really listens, something in the nervous system settles. This is because social understanding signals safety. It tells the brain, you are not alone. This is part of why therapy works, part of why friendships matter, part of why a single conversation can change everything. Being understood is not a luxury, it is a need. And offering that understanding to others is one of the greatest gifts we can give. Here is something about the mind's sense of time during crisis. In moments of danger, perception shifts, time slows, details become vivid. The brain, sensing threat, records everything it can. This is why people in car accidents often describe time stretching, why survivors of trauma remember fragments with startling clarity. The brain is trying to learn, to capture information that might help next time. This is adaptive, but it can also leave marks. Traumatic memories are often stored differently. They intrude, they repeat, and healing, when needed, often involves revisiting them gently, allowing the brain to process what it couldn't at the time. Let's talk about the quiet power of hope. Hope is not naivety. It is a cognitive orientation toward possibility. Studies show that hopeful people set more goals, persist longer, and find more pathways to success. Hope activates problem-solving circuits. It keeps the mind open to solutions. Even in difficult circumstances, hope can shift the brain's focus from threat to opportunity. This doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means holding space for what might be, even when the present is hard. Hope is a kind of trust in the unknown, and sometimes that trust is enough to carry you through. Here is something about the nature of thought. Thoughts are not facts. They are mental events, arising, lingering, passing. You don't choose most of them. They simply appear. This means you are not responsible for every thought that crosses your mind, only for what you do with it. Unwanted thoughts can be acknowledged without being followed. They can be noticed without being believed. This is one of the core insights of mindfulness. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness in which they arise, and that awareness is always calm, always present, always available to return to. Let's consider the experience of wonder. Wonder is the feeling of encountering something beyond understanding. It is not confusion. It is awe mixed with curiosity. Children feel it often, adults perhaps, less frequently. But wonder is available at any age, in the night sky, in the structure of a leaf, in the mystery of consciousness itself. Wonder is the mind's response to the vastness of what it cannot contain. And cultivating it, seeking out what amazes, is a way of staying alive to the world. Here is something about laughter. When you laugh, truly laugh, your brain releases endorphins, stress hormones drop, muscles relax, the immune system is momentarily boosted. Laughter is ancient. It appears in primates. It exists in every human culture. It seems to serve a social function, signaling safety, building bonds, diffusing tension. But it also serves the individual, a release valve for the pressure of existence, a reminder that even in difficulty, lightness is possible. So if laughter has been scarce lately, seek it out. Watch something funny. Recall a moment that made you smile. The body remembers how to laugh. It just sometimes needs permission. Let's talk about the way anticipation shapes experience. Looking forward to something can be as pleasurable as the thing itself. Sometimes more so. When you anticipate a vacation, a meal, a reunion, the brain activates reward circuits. You feel the pleasure before it arrives. This is one of the mind's gifts, the ability to stretch happiness across time, to enjoy not just what is happening, but what might happen. Of course, reality doesn't always match expectation, but that doesn't diminish the value of looking forward. Anticipation is its own kind of pleasure, a slow unfolding, a rehearsal of joy. Here is something about the experience of being alone. Solitude and loneliness are not the same. Solitude is chosen. It can be restorative, a chance for the mind to rest from the demands of social interaction. Loneliness is unwanted. It is the ache of disconnection, a signal that something is missing. The difference lies not in circumstance, but in experience. Some people feel lonely in crowds, others feel content in isolation. What matters is the quality of connection, not the quantity. So if you find yourself alone tonight, let it be solitude, let it be rest, let it be a quiet conversation with yourself. Let's consider the brain's relationship with novelty. New experiences light up the mind. They activate dopamine pathways. They strengthen memory. They make time feel slower and richer. This is why travel feels so vivid, why childhood seems to last forever, why routines can make the weeks blur together. The brain is hungry for the new. But novelty doesn't have to be dramatic. A different route to work, a new recipe, a conversation with someone you wouldn't normally talk to. These small variations wake the mind up. They remind it that the world is larger than habit suggests. Here is something about the way emotions travel through generations. The way your parents responded to stress, to love, to conflict, shaped the way you learned to respond. And their patterns were shaped by their parents before them. This is called intergenerational transmission. It doesn't mean you're trapped, but it does mean that some of your emotional habits are inherited, not through genes, but through modeling. The hopeful part is this: once you see a pattern, you can choose to change it. The chain can be broken, new responses can be learned, and what you heal in yourself, you need not pass on. Let's talk about the phenomenon of projection. Sometimes the traits we dislike in others are traits we haven't acknowledged in ourselves. This is called projection, a defense mechanism that allows us to see in others what we can't accept within. It doesn't always apply. Some dislikes are simply preferences. But when a reaction feels especially strong, especially charged, it may be worth asking, what is this reminding me of? What part of myself am I seeing? This isn't about self-blame. It's about self-understanding. And the more honestly we see ourselves, the more clearly we can see others. Here is something about the nature of happiness. It is not a destination. It is more like weather, shifting, temporary, returning. People often believe that happiness will arrive when something changes, when they get the job, when they find the person, when the problem is solved. But research suggests that happiness is less about circumstance and more about how the mind relates to circumstance. Gratitude, presence, connection. These shape happiness more than achievement. This doesn't mean goals don't matter, but it does mean that waiting for happiness is often the thing that delays it. Happiness is available now, not perfectly, not constantly, but in glimpses, in moments, in the spaces between effort and rest. Let's consider what it means to rest. True rest is not just the absence of activity, it is the presence of safety. The nervous system needs to feel that there is no threat, nothing to solve, nothing to escape. Only then can it fully relax. This is why rest can be difficult when the mind is worried. The body doesn't believe it's safe. So rest is not just about lying down. It's about signaling to the brain that, for now, everything is okay. A warm room, a soft breath, the knowledge that tomorrow can wait. These are the ingredients of true rest. Here is something about the way sleep heals. While you rest, the brain is not idle. It is consolidating memories. It is flushing out waste. It is restoring the systems that will carry you through tomorrow. Sleep is not a pause. It is an essential chapter, and the more you honor it, the more it gives back. So as this journey draws to a close, for the second time, know that what comes next is not nothing. It is the quiet work of renewal, the mind tending to itself, the body returning to balance. We've traveled far tonight, through the winding corridors of memory, through the strange terrain of perception, through the soft, hidden places where emotion and thought intertwine. You don't need to remember any of this. The mind will keep what it needs, and the rest will dissolve like a dream upon waking. What matters now is not understanding. It is letting go, letting the mind settle, letting the body rest, letting the night carry you wherever it will. There is nothing left to do, nothing left to solve, only the slow, deep breath of stillness, only the quiet hum of a mind finding peace. Good night. Sleep well.